Now let's have a look at the 4 types of throwing in judo, which are the hip techniques, the techniques of the leg, the arms, and the sacrifice techniques. For each type of exercise, I'll follow about the same scheme. That is to say, I will start by a demonstration of traditional techniques, Wensen Kumikata on the left side, Wensen Kumikata on the right side. Then I will come through technical explanations in a deeper way for the most common ones. I will follow with a presentation of many reinforcement exercises of specific applications to conclude with a demonstration of applications for competition. That is to say, variants of traditional techniques and new ones that have been shown more efficient thanks to modern competition. Let's start with the hip techniques. The traditional hip techniques. Ogoshi, grand wheel. Ukigoshi, make your hips float. Tsurigoshi, hips are lifted. Tsurikomigoshi, hips are bent over. Soditsuri Komigashi, hips are bent over and the arm lifted. Obigoshi, hip technique with the help of the belt. Koshiguruma, rolling up the hip. Hanigoshi, hit with your hip. Haraigoshi, hip mode down. Ushimata, projection from the inner thigh. Utsurigoshi, projection from the hip forward in a thwart position. Ushirigoshi, projection from the hip from behind in the thwart position. Before anything, let's take a good kumikata. Taekwondo kumi is not only to put your hands on your opponent's judo-gi, but to exert an effective control of uke, a really tight control with any margin. Each action exerts on the kimono has to have repercussions on the opponent. When the judogi cloth is pulled off 5 centimeters, the opponent has to come 5 centimeters closer. Both hands should act together in a synergetic way. To do that, the judogi has to be tight. There's also a great tactical dimension in the kumikata action. For instance, it is interesting to know how to neutralize the strong arm of your adversary, either the left or the right one, by imposing yourself when the first fight starts, both hands on him. That way, with 2 kumikata you may first adapt yourself to the powerful parts of your opponent and also be much more able to prevent him from placing himself in a powerful way, so that way you do not allow him to express himself. Another important thing is to be able to attack with each step of the kumikata action. On this example, let's see the first step. Now the second one. And the third step. Research on Ushimata. On my left side's Ushimata, I fight on the left side, right side, and mow with the left side. Left, right, mow with the left side. My first left action must be quite quick and energetic. Your legs shouldn't make you fall on the carpet when running up, be careful. In order to do a good rotation, you need to be on the tip of your toes. The leg I'm leaning on, the right one, is well in the middle of Uke's leg, so that I may be placed under him. My leg is bent when placing itself, first to have more potential energy, secondly to be in a more stable position, thirdly to be able to make efforts in several different directions. I shall not be too close to Uke, otherwise I block myself. My rotation is blocked and I risk to be fought. As a consequence, I have to turn myself forward enough, hips free, and pull my partner to me, so that my leg would have gathered enough speed to mow. The head should turn first, quickly. It is the head that leads the rotation. It must turn as quickly as possible, chin at the level of the shoulder. You ought not make a quarter circle with your chin up in the air. The leg that mows should be well tensed in extension. When the leg is stretched, genuine muscular chain can work. All the body is mobilized for the same aim. Ischio buttocks, lumbar muscles, back and shoulders. While the leg is bent, the muscular chain is cut in several parts. Buttocks are stretched, since the leg that mows has to remain in the axis of the body so as to be powerful. It should not be apart. When mowing, my hip and my feet are parallel to those of Uke. Here are some ways to work and to reinforce your muscles, specifically for techniques such as Uchimata or And now, a technique to work on the footholds and the body health. Yuki first does the O Ushigari, after Watori dodges and attacks Arigoshi on the same time. An educational exercise of opposition on Ogashi. First, both work with it, one hand on the opponent. The exercise evolves, the second hand placed in a reverse position. Let's end the movement with an opposition in a traditional full komikata. I'm going to deal with Ushiwaza, that is to say the leg techniques. Traditional leg techniques. Ashibarai, sweeping of the foot that moves forward. Ukuri Ashibarai, sweeping of both feet. Haratsuri Komi Ashi, sweeping of both feet while bending over. Kozotogari, little external mow. Kozotogake, little external clash. Tesaitsuri Ashi, clamping of the foot while bending over. Hitsaguruma, cartwheel around the knee. It is a clamping. Oguruma, large cartwheel, is a rolling up. Ashiguruma, cartwheel around the leg, it is a rolling up. Oushigari, large internal mowing. Koushigari, little internal mowing. Osotogari, large external mowing. Osoto Otashi, large external reversal. Demonstration of the Osotogari, large external sweeping. Let's move aside. Your hips backwards in the right side so as to be able to hit uke in a facing position and not aside, whereas too much force could be scattered. Also, there should be some contact, both shoulders should hit. Right arm sticks to the body, I bend downward, drawing a cube. My left arm makes a circular movement rather than the usual valve, so as to provoke a reaction and conserve as much energy as possible. To have more power, I do a run-up. That is to say, I take 2 more steps so as to give me more speed. I look up into the air. I put the knee of the leg that is meant to mow up, so that's my hip goes forward correctly, so as to gain power and stretch. My ankles are in extension, tiptoes downward. When moving, my head goes downward to the knee I'm leaning on. The Sotogari, at this level, is done like an Ushimata. If Uke has his arm stretched much, I would not be able to do an Osotogari, so I rather do a Soto Otashi instead. Throw him to the outside. Demonstration. I need to put my hip forward, catching my partner so as to make him bend his leg, and also to make a move with my arm so as to make him bend over. That will take his power away from him. I put my right foothold a bit closer so as to kick only when my left foot has taken a foothold on the ground. I shall never be without a foothold, because without one I would risk to be kicked back. Here are some exercises, ways to work and specific muscular reinforcements for the Osotogari practice. Here, one is resting a little bit on his partner's movements before doing it himself. Now, a pedagogical exercise of opposition on the Osoto Otashi. First, do it only with one hand on uke. Then, put on both hands. We're now going to work on the Etsaguruma, rolling around the neck. Here is a simple exercise to get well prepared to this block. It is a full realization of both arms. They should be stretched parallel to the ground, elbows up. The aim is to throw uke away. It is only his resistance and the atmosphere that will limit his way. But if from the beginning I keep being modest, he would not fall down. After the static form, then, in a specific movement. Here is another way with more kicks. I move apart so as to make a hole in front of him. I hit his hips with my hip and I catch him with my arms, after what I rotate my shoulders and head. I can applicate this technique with the action-reaction that will follow. I pretend to prepare myself for an Ozo Togari and I do an Itsaguruma. Here are some examples of technical exercises. I practice the Itsaguruma. He managed not to be touched. I continue with an Oki Ashibarai, sweeping with both feet. Another sequence. I practice the Tayotoshi on his first leg, and I continue with an Itsaguruma or an Arai Surikomi Ashi. Another pedagogical exercise on the static uke. I do one after the other, a uchikomi, a sotogari, an ushigari, and an Itsaguruma. I make the exercise evolve by doing the same thing, but with a foot backwards from uke. If I wish, I shall make the evolution end it by continuing with the projections. Here are now some educated exercises for sweeping. A Ashibarai in the air. Same exercise, but add a dodge of the Ashibarai first, Tsubami Gaishi. An Ashibarai while moving forward and backward. Backward by 1 foot. Uki has 1 foot on mine. I take my foot away in a quick movement and I sweep pelvis forward. I try to place the sweeping at the right moment. Ashibarai in a specific position of fight. An educative exercise for the Okori Ashibarai, sweeping with both feet. Another one. A very interesting exercise for the Arai Tsurikomi Ashi, sweeping of the foot while bending over. Application of the Ashibarai in a championship. First, I put my foot curved on his and force in the sweeping. Yuki is going to put his foot away and there's his mistake, since I'll be able to restart my sweeping because he has taken off his weight. Secondly, I put Yuki's weight on his leg, I sweep and I execute a sort of de Ashibarai. Third, I do an Ashibarai in Gake, hanging so that he will try to dodge the hit by putting his leg far away. I continue on the other leg in an Oso to Otoshi. Demonstration of the traditional form of the Ko-ushigari, little inner sweeping. Still ko-ushigari, but this time in a hanging position. Sequence of a solicitation ippon sayonage. I shall simulate ippon sayonage quickly so that my partner reacts backwards, and I do the ko-ushigake. I hit and put my pelvis forwards on uke, right leg always in a pushing position. The left leg should not only hang but also sweep on all its length. Push and compress on the direction of the leg I wish to suppress. And now, here are some pedagogical exercises. First, a sequence of ko-ushigari, a little internal sweeping when uke is coming, and a ko-ushigake, after which we do a little internal hanging when he is going backwards. On an attack in Taiotoshi now, I dodge the hit by going up the attacker with one leg, the other one waiting for to fight. I stay straight and come to face uke. I push with both hands on his chest and so do Sotogake, foot on the buttocks. All along the tatami now, without any contact. Yuki puts up his right leg far behind backwards in a jump. I do an o-ushigari, he puts his left leg far away backwards, and I practice an o-ushigari. I do the same exercise, but in a different way, closer to the rondari. Yuki lets me displace him. I should bring him to the adequate position to make an o-ushigari or the ko-ushigari. Demonstration of the traditional form for the o-ushigari. The chest hits, I push strongly with both arms and with my body until the ground. I mow when we are really close to the tatami in a circle. When the mowing has started, I put all the uke weight on the mowed foothold. Here are some variations for the kumikata. First, by putting uke on the shoulder nude, so as to push downward and backward and to block his arm. Secondly, by hugging him at the level of his lumbar muscles, so as to accentuate the curving of his back and so to suppress the bit of his power. Third, still in an o-ushigari on the left side, with a kumikata on the right side, so as to neutralize an opposed kumikata. Here's a specific muscular reinforcement exercise. One is reinforcing his or ushigari, while the other stops in the ko-sotogake. A pedagogical exercise. Both partners are now going to strike, one in an o-ushigari position, the other one in ko-sotogake position, one arm on the back of the other one. Then, with one hand on the back, the other on the opposite side. At last, with a traditional kumikata, forearm on the back. A third exercise, on the ko-ushigari, then on an o-ushigari, a very specific reinforcement exercise which allows a full expression of this movement. A competitive version, less traditional, of the o-oshigari. You have to put the head of your partner apart with your elbow so as to bend it aside and to finally suppress much of his force. Now I'm going to demonstrate some arm techniques. Tewaza is Japanese. It is perhaps in this family that the judo has evolved the most the last decade, mostly because of the new techniques of the sweeping of the legs and many variants of sayonage techniques. I propose to explain them to you in the second part of the chapter. But first we're going to study the basics, which are the traditional techniques. They're not easy to be done since they often require to completely turn your back to your opponent. So as to realize this exercise, you are going to have to make an effort for not stretching yourself and not to be stiff. Indeed, it is the most current fault people make. First stretched, block yourself so as to practice these techniques. Arms are stretched, pelvis is backwards too much and with no suppleness. In this position, you're not aware of what is happening and you're not physically ready for the fight. Secondly, if you're stretched too much physically, it's almost sure that you're not ready psychologically for a fight. You're not away, you do not catch opportunities, you keep your mind on a specific idea. The third point is that when you're stretched, you're not ready to explode to surprise your opponent by a subtle gain of tension. As a consequence, you're not efficient on a muscular level. Also, this chapter should be seen with the goal of associating power and awareness fluently. Traditional arm techniques. Marode sayonage, throwing over the shoulder with both hands. Ippon sayonage, throwing over one shoulder. Taiotoshi, falling so as to block him. Kataguruma, wheel around the shoulders. Teguruma, curving with the hands. Marotagari, mowing with the legs with both hands. Some precisions on the Ippon sayonage, throwing with one shoulder. My right arm is under the opponent's shoulder so as to lighten it. So I'll stand up in an Ippon sayonage, my left arm should hit, my wrist drawing a rotation, little finger in my direction. It aims at blocking completely Uke's shoulder. During the rotation of the body, I shall look for a second hit behind Uke's shoulder, so as to assure a perfect contact between both bodies. For the throwing, my intention is to throw him as far as possible, like a throw. I shall fall forward. It is the opposition of Uke's weight that makes me stay in a balanced position sometimes. Until the end of the movement, I stay close to Uke so as to force him to fall on his back properly. If my right arm is above the arm of Uke, it is better to make an Ippo Sayonage on my knees. I push Uke downward with a tight control of the one shoulder. I go really far away under Uke and I stand up. Like a punching ball, I add a very energetic rotation of the body, so as to throw my back and Uke's back down to the ground. Here are some educative exercises for the Sayonage. And the second one. And the third one. Here's a very specific muscular reinforcement exercise which allows you to express yourself completely. Here are now some specific forms of Sayonage for competition. First technique, mowing with the arm, added to the traditional Sayo technique. A second one, this time hanging more than mowing. And the third one in a Nippon Maki Komi. Morode Soe-nage with a kumikata allowing to strike either on the right side or on the left one. Iri Seoi, reverse on the arm and on the same side. Iri Seoi while drawing a rotation in the usual way, sort of Sodetsori Komi Goshe. Here is a Seoi, both hands on the forearm. A very special Morode Seoi. And another. A third one with one hand, the other simply here in case it isn't enough. Another form, really efficient. For the throwing, I show my shoulder off like for forward falling. Here is now a complementary form of the previous one. If Yuki prevents me from taking his right arm, I'll come to him and I control the same way. A third form close to the two we've previously seen. Here I enter in an ippon-sai movement, usually from external to internal more than to the contrary. On this technique, I start with my idea and I conclude by lightly adapting my movement, either with my right leg or with the left leg of the Yuki, who is forward. In both cases, the same technique, the same idea should be followed. To conclude the seoi-nage, here a placing exercise of coordination in an opposite kumikata position. Here is now 3 forms for the competition of kataguruma. The first one, putting the left leg forward to place the right leg under uke afterward. Between his legs, it is a back form. The second one is in a side form. This time I start by putting my right leg under uke and rolling it hanging. This time I slide my left leg in a blocking. The third form, with the knee on the ground, allows you to slide under uke. A form of taiotoshi. The competitive form of teguruma, rolling around the hands. The first one by getting up uke's arm on the outside I want to go to, in contact and by touching with my right leg on uke's other side. The second one, getting rid of uke's arm, I take him to the inside and not upwards, and I do put my right leg onto the outside of uke's leg. A third one, with even more contact, I come closer with my left leg on the inside of uke's leg this time. I'll end this chapter with the grabbing of the leg, a first grab in kumikata. A second one, using his strength and movement. A third one, following the movement of his leg. A fourth one, trying to surprise him during the struggle for kumikata. Grabbing the left leg now, here I'm dominated and I move away in a right angle. A second one with the beginning of Ushima Kenken. I have to pull the ankle as if I were pulling out a carrot. We're now going to see the last chapter on the Sotemiwaza, the sacrifice techniques. Traditional techniques of sacrifice. Tomoe-nage, circle throwing. Yoko Tomoe-nage, overthrowing in the angle. Tsumigaishi, overthrowing in the angle. Uranage, throwing by throwing yourself backwards. Yokoguruma, side wheel. Sukui-nage, spoon throwing. Tanya Utoshi, falling in the valley. Yoko Otoshi, overthrowing on the side. Five forms of positions for the Sokui-nage. The first one, the more classical, a leg and an arm behind. The second form, by embracing the pelvis, facing and pushing. The third form, the two hands on control, grip tightly on the forearm so as to lock it down. And the fourth form, by putting your leg frontally on Uge's thigh. And the last one, far less usual, by the same side than before, but with the other arm of Yuke. You know, I have to choose the techniques which fit you better and work them in a further way. They will be your favorite techniques, your specials in the judo slang. This means that those you will masterize perfectly and which will allow you to use the potential as the maximum. The goal is to try to have a special in every situation which can be encountered during a fight. This is also time for you to build yourself offensive schemes, which means sequences of possible techniques in various ways, so as to adapt yourself on the opponent's defensive reactions. Thus you will get a rich and elaborated judo.